A poor cafe worker helped an old woman cross the road in the rain. She never knew she was holding the mother of one of the richest men in the city. One small act of kindness changed her life forever. The late afternoon sky glowed a soft grey as Maya, a hard-working girl in her early 20s, walked slowly down the sidewalk after a long shift at the cafe. Rain clung to her uniform, dripping from her sleeves, and her worn shoes squished with every step. Her backpack felt heavier than usual, heavy with exhaustion, heavy with life. She reached the crosswalk and suddenly froze. An elderly woman stood at the edge of the busy road, gripping her cane so tightly her fingers trembled. Cars rushed past her, horns blaring, tires slicing through puddles. Drivers didn't slow. Pedestrians didn't stop. People saw her, but no one helped her, except Maya. Without hesitation, Maya stepped to the woman's side. "Ma'am," she said gently, "let me help you." The old woman looked up, startled at first, then frightened, and finally, deeply relieved. Together they moved slowly across the road. Maya shielded her from splashing cars with her own soaked body. Rain poured down her hair, her uniform, her shoes. But she didn't care. Kindness had always been her instinct. When they reached the other side safely, the woman released a shaky breath. "Thank you, my child. People rarely stop anymore. You shouldn't be out here alone," Maya said softly. "Do you need help getting home?" "No, dear," the woman replied with a faint smile. "I called someone. He's on his way." Right on cue, a sleek black SUV pulled up beside them. The driver stepped out quickly and opened the door with respectful care. Before Maya could step back, the old woman held her hand firmly. "You have a good heart," she said. "Don't lose it. Not many people have that anymore." Maya nodded shyly. Then she stepped away and continued down the sidewalk, back into the quiet rhythm of her ordinary life. She had no idea that the simple act of kindness she had just shown was toward the mother of one of the richest men in the entire city. Inside the SUV, Elias Grant, young black billionaire, CEO of Grant Holdings, barely lifted his eyes from the tablet in his hand as his mother settled into the seat beside him. His expression was sharp, disciplined, almost cold. "Mom," he sighed, "you shouldn't be out alone." Madame Evelyn gave a small, knowing smile. "I know, Elias, but I was blessed today by a young woman with a pure, selfless heart. That caught his attention." He lowered the tablet. "She helped me cross the road in the rain," she continued. "She didn't hesitate. She didn't look to see who was watching. She just helped." For the first time, Elias's eyes softened. Just a little. "What's her name?" he asked. "I didn't ask." Madame Evelyn sighed gently. Everything happened so quickly. Elias leaned back in his seat, absorbing her words. He didn't know the girl. He didn't even know her name. But something about the story lingered, and the girl with the pure heart would soon become impossible for him to forget. The next morning, Madame Evelyn sat in her warm living room, wrapped in a soft blanket. She couldn't stop replaying the memory of the previous day, the gentle way Maya had supported her, the calm steadiness in her voice, the kindness shining in her eyes. It had been such a simple moment, yet it had touched her deeply. "Elias," she said softly as her son entered the sitting room, eyes fixed on his tablet. "Do you remember the young girl I told you about yesterday? The sweet, gentle one who helped me in the rain?" He finally paused and lifted his gaze. "Yes," he replied. "The girl you said had a pure heart." "I want to thank her properly," Madame Evelyn said. "People like her. They deserve to be seen." Elias looked at his mother thoughtfully. "Do you know where she works?" She shook her head. "No, she left in a hurry. But she was wearing a cafe uniform. I'm sure she works somewhere along the commercial street." Elias nodded once, sharp and certain. "I'll find her." He called his head of security immediately. "Check the cafes along the commercial street where my mother was yesterday. Look for a young woman who was working during the rain. Don't disturb anyone. Just ask quietly." Then they waited. Hours later, Elias's phone finally buzzed. "Sir," the officer reported. "We found her. Her name is Maya Thompson. She works at Blue Pine Cafe, evening shift." Elias repeated the name under his breath, letting the sound of it settle in his chest. "Maya Thompson." A genuine smile touched Madame Evelyn's lips. "Maya. Such a lovely name. Elias, I want to meet her again. But not at her workplace. That would embarrass her. She showed me kindness with dignity. So let us respect that." Elias nodded in agreement. "I'll send the driver tomorrow. She deserves a proper invitation." Madame Evelyn's eyes softened. She has no idea how deeply she touched my heart. And somewhere across the city, busy wiping tables and serving customers, Maya continued her day, completely unaware that her simple act of kindness had already reached one of the most powerful families in the city and was about to change her life. 2 days later, Maya stepped out of the cafe after her shift, exhausted and ready to catch her usual bus home. The evening breeze was cool against her skin, and she wrapped her arms around herself as she walked toward the bus stop. But today something was different. A sleek black SUV sat parked by the curb, clean, quiet, expensive-looking. Maya barely glanced at it, until a neatly dressed driver stepped out and walked straight toward her. "Excuse me," he said politely. "Are you Miss Maya?" She froze. "Yes, that's me." He nodded with quiet respect. "Madame Evelyn Grant asked me to bring you to her." Maya blinked, confused. "Sorry, Evelyn Grant?" "Yes. She said she met you recently. That name." It sounded familiar, like something she'd seen in the news, on charity billboards, on television, but Maya couldn't place it. The only elderly woman she had spoken to recently was the one she helped cross the road. Could it be her? Her stomach fluttered with uncertainty. Still unsure, but too polite to refuse, Maya followed the driver into the SUV. The ride was silent, the city rushing past the windows while her thoughts raced far louder than the engine. Then the car turned into a massive gated estate. Maya's breath caught. The towering gates opened slowly, revealing a mansion she had only ever seen in magazines. White marble, tall pillars, golden lights glowing like a dream. She stepped inside, overwhelmed by the beauty around her. Paintings, sculptures, polished floors. It didn't feel like a house. It felt like a palace. Then she saw her. The elderly woman from the rain walked toward her, smiling warmly. "Maya, dear, I'm so glad you came." Maya's confusion melted into pure shock. You're Madame Evelyn Grant?" The old woman nodded gently. "Yes, child, and I wanted to see you again." Suddenly, everything made sense. The car, the driver, the mansion. Maya had helped this woman, the mother of billionaire Elias Grant, one of the most respected and powerful families in the city. Her heart began to pound as Madame Evelyn continued softly. "My son would like to thank you himself." And just as Maya tried to steady her breathing, the door opened behind her. Elias Grant walked in, tall, calm, intimidating, and in that quiet moment, everything in Maya's life began to shift. Maya lowered her head the instant he entered the room, suddenly feeling small beneath his calm, commanding presence. Elias spoke first, his voice steady. "My mother told me what you did for her." Maya forced a small, nervous smile. "Anyone would have helped, sir." "No," he interrupted gently, shaking his head. "Not everyone, not anymore." He stepped closer and held out a small envelope. "This is for you." Maya raised her hands slowly, almost afraid to take it. "Sir, I don't want money. I didn't help her for that." "It's not money," Elias said softly. With trembling fingers, Maya opened the envelope. Her breath caught. Inside wasn't cash, but a formal job offer, neatly printed and stamped with the seal of the Grant Foundation. Madame Evelyn watched her closely, eyes warm with pride. "You helped me when you believed I was just an ordinary old woman," she said gently. "Now I want to help you become somebody." Maya stared at the paper, then at Madame Evelyn. Completely speechless, Elias added quietly, "It's a real position, Maya. Real work, real pay. You'll assist my mother with her charity programs. She sees something in you, and I trust her judgment." Maya's eyes filled with tears. She struggled to blink away. Her whole body felt light, overwhelmed, unbelieving. Just yesterday, she had been fighting through rain, tired from long shifts, wondering how she would pay next month's rent. And now, her life was opening into a world she had never imagined, all because she chose kindness. A simple moment, helping an elderly woman in the rain, had become the doorway to a future she never dreamed possible. Maya woke before dawn, long before her alarm had a chance to ring. Sleep had drifted in and out of her all night, broken by waves of disbelief. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Madame Evelyn's gentle smile and Elias Grant's calm, unreadable expression as he handed her the job offer. One question echoed in her mind again and again. Why me? By 7 a.m., Maya stood outside the towering glass building of the Grant Foundation. The morning sun glowed against its polished surface, making it look almost heavenly. People in crisp suits hurried inside with purpose, their confidence sharp and effortless. Maya tightened her grip on her small handbag, suddenly aware of her simple clothes. Her worn shoes. Still, she walked in. The reception area was breathtaking. White marble floors, soft lighting, framed photos of charity missions lining the walls, children smiling, schools built, water projects completed. Every image whispered the reason she was here. A woman in a navy blazer approached her. "You must be Miss Thompson. I'm Grace, the HR manager. Welcome." Her tone was polite, but her eyes scanned Maya with quiet curiosity. Perhaps even surprise. Grace led her through the hallways, explaining her duties as Madame Evelyn's assistant, organizing schedules, helping with community events, reviewing letters from families in need. Maya nodded attentively at every word, determined to prove she deserved this chance. Then the whispers began. "Who is she?" "She's new. Someone said Madame Evelyn brought her. Look at her clothes. How did she get hired?" Maya heard every whisper. She swallowed them quietly and focused on her work. By noon, she was assigned to sort documents for an upcoming charity drive. The work was simple, but meaningful. Each file told a story. Orphans needing help, families seeking shelter, schools desperate for support. Maya's heart softened as she worked. She didn't notice someone watching her from across the hall. Elias stood near the doorway, hands in his pockets, observing her in silence. She worked with sincerity. No pretense, no performance, no attempt to impress. Just genuine effort. For the first time that morning, he allowed a small private smile. Maya had stepped into a world far bigger than anything she had ever known, and she had no idea how deeply her presence was already being felt. By Maya's second day at the foundation, the whispers hadn't faded. They had only grown sharper. People stared a little too long, spoke a little too softly, smiled a little too tightly whenever she passed. But Maya did what she had always done in life. She kept her head down, worked hard, and stayed kind. Still, not everyone appreciated her quiet grace. Clara Benson noticed her immediately. Clara had been with the Grant Foundation for 6 long years. She was known for her flawless suits, her sharper tongue, and an ambition that burned far hotter than compassion ever could. Power mattered to her. Status mattered. And above all, control mattered. She prided herself on being Elias's most trusted staff member. The one who stayed late when everyone else left. The one who fixed his schedule, guarded his time, and positioned herself as indispensable. For years she had convinced herself that loyalty would one day be rewarded, that Elias would finally see her. Then Maya walked in, a stranger, quiet, humble, unpolished, and worse, admired by his mother. Clara hadn't just been surprised, she had been threatened. The moment Clara saw Maya organizing documents in the meeting room, her eyes narrowed. "So, you're the new assistant," Clara said as she stepped inside. Maya looked up and smiled softly. "Yes, I'm Maya. Nice to meet you." Clara's gaze dropped slowly to Maya's simple outfit. Her plain shoes, her natural modesty. A faint, judgmental smirk tugged at her lips. "How interesting," she replied. Maya didn't understand the tone, so she only nodded and returned to her work. Clara stepped closer and tapped the stack of folders Maya had been sorting. "These are supposed to be in chronological order," she said coolly. "They're not." Maya froze. She had been certain she arranged them correctly. "Oh, sorry. I must have mixed them up. I'll fix it now." Clara's smile turned quietly victorious. "Be careful," she said softly. "Around here, mistakes don't go unnoticed." Then she walked out, her heels clicking sharply against the floor, leaving Maya's confidence trembling behind her. Hours later, Madame Evelyn arrived for her routine walk around the department. Her warm presence filled the room instantly. "Maya, dear," she greeted. "I've heard you're settling in well." Clara stiffened at her desk. Maya blushed. "I'm doing my best, ma'am." Madame Evelyn touched her shoulder gently. "Your best is enough." The words were kind, but they deepened Clara's resentment. As Madame Evelyn walked away, Clara watched Maya closely, her eyes cold with a silent promise. She wasn't going to let the newcomer outshine her, not without a fight. The next morning at the foundation was unusually busy. Staff hurried through the hallways carrying files, laptops, and boxes for the upcoming charity event. The air buzzed with urgency. Maya arrived early, hoping, just for today, to avoid the stares and whispers. But someone had already been waiting for her. Clara. She stood near Maya's desk with a stack of folders in her hands, her expression unreadable. "Oh, there you are," Clara said brightly, too brightly. "I need you to do something important." Maya nodded quickly. "Of course. What do you need?" Clara placed a large color-coded folder into Maya's hands. "Send this file to the donor's email list. It needs to go out before noon. Can you handle that?" Maya flipped through the contents. Names, figures, event details, all neatly arranged. Everything looked official, clean, proper. "Yes, I can," she said, eager to prove she was capable. Clara smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. "Good, and Maya?" "Yes. Make sure it goes to everyone." With that, Clara turned and walked away, her heels echoing sharply through the hallway. Maya hurried to the computer room and typed the email carefully. She triple-checked the message, scanned the attachments twice, then finally clicked send with a hopeful exhale. Maybe today would be better. But by 11:47 a.m., the foundation was in chaos. Phones rang non-stop. Staff rushed from office to office. Confused voices collided in the air. What happened? Why did donors get this? This wasn't supposed to be sent today. Maya stepped slowly out of the computer room, her heart pounding. A flustered assistant leaned in and whispered, "Someone sent the internal planning document to every donor." Maya froze. Internal planning document? But that was the file Clara had given her. Before she could gather her thoughts, a deep voice cut through the noise. "Maya." Elias. He stood outside his office door, his expression unreadable, his eyes locking onto hers with calm intensity. Her breath shook. I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't know. I thought—" "Come inside," he said quietly. The office door closed behind them, sealing the chaos outside and trapping Maya in silence. She expected anger, a raised voice. "Accusations!" But Elias only studied her for a long moment, his gaze steady. "Who gave you that file?" he asked softly. Maya's lips trembled. "Clara. She told me to send it." A shadow passed through Elias's eyes, not toward Maya, but toward the truth behind her words. He leaned back slowly, fingertips pressed together. "You made a mistake," he said calmly. "But someone wanted you to." Maya's heart cracked with shame. Elias continued, his voice gentle but firm. "I don't fire people for being targeted." Relief flooded her eyes. "But Maya," he added, leaning forward, "from now on, you come to me directly if anyone tries to set you up again." For the first time since she entered the foundation, Maya understood something clearly. She wasn't alone anymore. The silence in Elias's office hung gently between them. Not heavy, but thoughtful. Maya stood with her hands clasped in front of her, her heart still racing from the chaos outside. She had expected anger, maybe even dismissal. Instead, she found something she never expected. Understanding. Elias walked toward the window, the morning sun outlining his tall figure. His voice was calm, steady. You're new here, Maya. People will test you, especially those who feel threatened. Maya lowered her gaze. I didn't mean to cause trouble, sir. You didn't, he said, turning to face her. But someone intended to use you as a tool. That is the real problem. His eyes softened. Not much, but enough for Maya to see the man behind the billionaire title. A man who carried responsibilities heavy enough to silence anyone else. Tell me, he asked quietly. Why did you take this job? Maya blinked, surprised by the question. Because your mother believed in me. And I need to work. I want to do something meaningful. Elias studied her face, the honesty in her words slowly easing the cold armor he wore each day. Most people, he said, take opportunities from us for what they can gain. You took this one because of kindness. He paused. My mother was right about you. Warmth rose behind Maya's eyes. Not from praise, but from the rare softness in his tone. She sensed it wasn't something he offered often. A knock interrupted the moment. Madame Evelyn entered, her smile warm as always. I heard there was a misunderstanding. She gently touched Maya's arm. Are you all right, dear? Yes, ma'am, Maya whispered. Elias exchanged a quiet glance with his mother, one she understood instantly. Her expression tightened with concern. Clara has always been ambitious, Madame Evelyn murmured. Be careful with her. Maya nodded, absorbing every word. Before Maya left the office, Elias spoke once more, calm and reassuring. Maya, don't let today define you. Let it strengthen you. She stepped into the hallway feeling different, lighter, steadier. Elias Grant, the man she feared disappointing the most, had just given her something she never expected. His trust. By the end of the week, the foundation no longer felt like an office. It felt like a heartbeat racing towards something grand. Invitations had been delivered. Decorations were nearly complete. Donors from every corner of the city were preparing for the most important night of the season, the annual Grant Charity Gala. It was the night where millions would be raised, where alliances would be formed, where power, influence, and generosity would collide under one roof. Maya had never seen anything like it. When Madame Evelyn insisted that she attend, Maya tried to protest, but the older woman only smiled warmly and held her hands. You work for this foundation, my dear. You belong here. The words were kind, yet as the evening arrived, Maya still felt like a visitor in a world far above her own. The ballroom shimmered beneath towering crystal chandeliers. Gold-accented tables stretched across the room. Waiters glided between guests like synchronized dancers, their movements smooth and flawless. Laughter sparkled through the air. Diamonds caught the light. Wealth sat comfortably in every corner. Everyone was dressed in elegance and power. Everyone, except her. Maya stood just inside the entrance, wearing the same simple outfit she had arrived in that day. Clean, modest, and painfully out of place. Her hands clasped nervously in front of her as she took in the sea of luxury around her. Then Elias approached. He wore a black tailored suit that made him look every inch the man the city feared and respected. Powerful. Untouchable. But when his eyes met hers, something in his expression softened. You look fine, Maya, he said quietly. Just be yourself. The words steadied her more than he knew. She nodded, even though her stomach still fluttered with nerves. Across the room, Clara watched. Her eyes narrowed slowly as they followed Maya. The sparkle of the chandeliers danced in her cold gaze, and beneath the polished elegance she wore so effortlessly, envy burned, dark and dangerous. The night had only just begun. As the evening progressed, Maya moved quietly through the ballroom, assisting with donor lists and coordinating last-minute details. She carried a tray of water glasses carefully through the crowd, when suddenly someone brushed against her, not by accident. The tray tilted. Crystal glasses slipped from her hands and shattered violently, against the marble floor. The laughter died. Conversations halted. Heads turned all at once. Then a soft ripple of laughter spread through the ballroom. Maya froze where she stood, her cheeks burning, her heart collapsing into itself under dozens of watching eyes. Clara's whisper cut through the air like a blade. "She really doesn't belong here." Maya's vision blurred as tears stung her eyes. Before anyone could speak, she hurried out of the ballroom, slipping into a quiet garden terrace lit only by warm lanterns. She pressed a trembling hand to her chest, fighting to breathe, feeling smaller than she had in years. Then a familiar voice broke the silence. "Maya, Elias." He stepped onto the terrace, hands in his pockets, concern written across the lines of his usually unreadable face. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said gently. Her voice cracked. "I embarrassed the whole foundation." "No," Elias said, stepping closer. "They embarrassed themselves by forgetting what this night is truly about." His tone softened even more. "Don't let their world crush your spirit." And under the soft glow of the lanterns, Maya felt something shift, a moment of unexpected comfort from the last person she thought would understand her pain. For a long moment she said nothing. The garden was quiet except for the soft rustle of leaves and the distant hum of music from the ballroom. Elias stood beside her, not as a CEO, not as a billionaire, but as a human being who saw her pain clearly. "I shouldn't have come," she whispered. "I don't fit in with people like them." Elias shook his head slowly. "You're wrong. You fit here more than most of them. They show wealth, Maya, but you show heart, and that's rarer." She blinked, stunned by his sincerity. Before she could respond, Madame Evelyn stepped through the doorway. "There you two are," she said gently. "The donors are asking for the young woman who helped me. They want to meet the heart behind the story." Maya's breath caught. "What, me?" "Yes, dear." Madame Evelyn smiled. "Your kindness inspired this entire night." Fear swirled inside Maya, but the older woman held out her hand. "Come back in with us." With shaking fingers, Maya placed her hand in hers. Together the three of them walked back into the ballroom. Conversations dimmed as they entered. Madame Evelyn led Maya to the stage, her grip steady and reassuring. Elias stood just behind them, silent, unwavering, supportive. Madame Evelyn addressed the room. "Before we continue, I want you all to meet someone. A young woman who reminded me that kindness still lives in our world." Every eye turned to Maya. "She helped me when she thought I was just an ordinary old woman trying to cross a busy road. She shielded me from the rain with her own body. And in that moment, she showed me what this foundation truly stands for." Madame Evelyn looked at Maya with quiet pride. "This is the heart behind the Grant Foundation." A hush fell over the room. Some guests who had laughed earlier lowered their gaze in shame. Maya felt warmth rise in her chest. Not pride, not attention, just quiet acceptance. Elias stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "This foundation was built on compassion. Tonight, let's honor that. Let's honor people like Maya." Applause began softly, then grew louder, filling the ballroom with warmth Maya never expected. Clara stood in the corner, jaw tight with disbelief. As Maya looked out at the applauding crowd, something inside her shifted completely. She finally believed she belonged. The applause from the gala still echoed softly in Maya's mind the next morning. For the first time since she stepped into the Grant Foundation, she felt seen, not for what she lacked, but for who she truly was. But peace never lasts long in stories like hers. By midday, the office buzzed with sudden panic. Staff rushed through hallways, whispers trailing behind them like smoke. Maya stepped out of the records room, confused. "What's happening?" A trembling assistant shook her head. "It's Madame Evelyn. She collapsed at home." The words hit Maya like cold water. Without thinking, she grabbed her bag and hurried outside, just as Elias's black SUV screeched to a stop in front of the building. He jumped out, face pale, jaw clenched tight. "Elias!" she called. He turned, anguish flickering in his eyes. "She fainted in her garden. They've taken her to St. Helena Hospital." I'm coming with you, Maya said before fear could silence her. He didn't argue. The ride was silent except for the hum of the engine. Maya watched Elias, his fingers pressed to his forehead, his breathing uneven. For the first time, he didn't look like the unshakable billionaire the world admired. He looked like a son terrified of losing the most precious person in his life. At the hospital, the corridors smelled of antiseptic and fear. Doctors rushed in and out of the room where Madame Evelyn lay. When they were finally allowed inside, Maya's heart twisted painfully. Madame Evelyn looked fragile, too fragile. Her breathing soft, her skin pale against the white sheets. Elias took her hand gently. "Mom, I'm here." Her eyes fluttered open, weak but still full of warmth. "Maya," she whispered. Maya stepped closer, swallowing hard. "I'm here, ma'am." A faint smile touched the older woman's lips. "You are stayed. Always," Maya said softly. Madame Evelyn's fingers curled around both their hands. "You two. Take care of each other. Promise me that." Elias's breath caught. Maya's tears filled her eyes. "We promise," he whispered. Just then a doctor entered. "We need to speak with you," he said gravely. Elias's face tightened. Maya's heart stopped. The room felt colder, heavier. Something was terribly wrong. The doctor's words lingered in the hallway like a heavy winter fog. Madame Evelyn experienced a cardiac episode. She needs rest, reduce stress, and close monitoring. She will recover, but only if she avoids emotional strain. Elias closed his eyes briefly, relief and fear mixing in the same breath. "Thank you," he managed. When they returned to her room, Madame Evelyn was awake again, her gaze soft but searching. "Don't look so worried," she whispered, her voice faint but steady. "I've survived worse." Elias tried to smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. Maya moved to her bedside, gently adjusting the blanket. "Please rest," Maya said softly. Madame Evelyn's gaze drifted between the two of them. She saw the quiet worry in Elias, the tender care in Maya. And in that moment, everything she had hoped for became clearer. "You both remind me," she murmured, "that family is not always born. Sometimes it is found." Elias's breath stilled. Maya looked down, heat blooming in her chest. Hours passed. They stayed by her side until the evening light painted the hospital room gold. Eventually, Madame Evelyn drifted into peaceful sleep. Elias stepped outside with Maya into the quiet corridor. The world felt softer here, away from the city's noise and expectations. "You didn't have to stay," he said gently. Maya looked at him, surprised. "Of course I did. She's been kind to me. And you?" Her voice faded, unsure. "And I?" Elias asked, a rare softness touching his eyes. Maya lowered her gaze. "You've shown me more trust than anyone in a long time." Silence wrapped around them. Comfortable, warm. Elias exhaled slowly, his usual guarded expression easing. "My mother was right about you. You've changed something here." He tapped the center of his chest. "Even if I'm still learning how to say it." Maya's heart stumbled. For a moment, neither spoke. The hallway lights glowed gently above them, casting soft shadows. "Will she be all right?" Maya finally asked. "Yes," Elias said. "Thanks to you. You kept her calm. You kept me calm." Maya smiled faintly. "I'm glad." As they walked toward the exit together, something unspoken formed between them. Fragile, real, and full of possibility. Elias paused at the doorway. "Maya, tomorrow come earlier. I want you involved in the new charity expansions." Her eyes widened. "Me?" "Yes, you belong here." Maya stepped into the cool evening air, the city lights glowing softly before her. For the first time in her life, she wasn't walking into uncertainty alone. Her heart felt full, steady with a hope she had never dared to imagine. Just days ago, she was a girl rushing through the rain, unnoticed, struggling to survive. Now she stood on the edge of a future shaped not by shame or fear, but by kindness. Her life changed because she chose compassion when no one was watching, and as the sounds of the night faded behind her, Maya finally understood something deeper than success, deeper than wealth. Kindness had not only opened a door for her, it had rewritten her destiny. But while Maya believed her life had finally changed, the greatest test of her heart was only just beginning. Her story continues. Do you think Clara is truly finished? Or just getting started? What do you think will happen to Maya next? Comment Part 2 if you're ready for the next chapter. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe to Folk Tales by Olivia for more emotional, unforgettable stories. Until next time, stay kind, stay hopeful, and keep watching.